So, with The Exorcist, me specifically,
Yeah.
I have a very nostalgic attachment to it because I watched it when I was young. And not only is it nostalgic, but The Exorcist haunted the shit out of me when I was young. When I was little, literally like my fucking main enemy, my arch nemesis, scared the fuck out of me. Was in my nightmares more than any other character on screen. Like, that was, even as a fucking grown man, it still fucked with me. Welcome back to Camp Counselors, a More Butter show where we show, discuss, and debate the best and mostly worst movies out there and other pop culture nonsense. I am your host, Mista GG, along with my co-host for today, KennieJD.
Hello. Hello. We're minus an Amanda today. She's traveling. She left us.
Yeah. Amanda's busy.
She's
so
like...
We understand.
I saw her on the, she was on the throne. I want to say from, I don't remember.
From Game of Thrones, yeah.
It was from Game of Thrones, wasn't it? Yeah. I was like, oh, jealous. But it's okay. She's out there doing cool stuff. And we're talking about the Exorcist. They grow up so fast.
Yeah.
Isn't she older
exactly
than both of us?
Doing today. We're talking about The Exorcist today. From 1973, a classic when it comes to horror. A lot of people's nightmares at the time when the release came out in theaters. There was people walking out. There was people fainting. There was people crying, clutching their kids. It was horrible. Claimed to be, nicknamed by some, the scariest movie of all time. The Exorcist. Which centers around a young girl named Reagan, who slowly enters this demonic possession and all the events that unfold with that. This will be an interesting conversation between me and Kennie because she recently watched the movie for the first time ever.
Yeah. Which makes me feel kind of pussy. I call myself like a lover of film, and I'm like, I've never seen The Exorcist until like 4 days ago.
But I also feel like you could probably, at least for me, I feel like you would call out so many people like that because I know. I feel like everyone has that movie where like, oh yeah, this is the most important movie in this fucking subgenre, but nah, I had never watched it. It's on the list. I should.
Well, what happened was I was just on like a little like girls trip, and my friend is like a big classic horror movie person, and I was telling her, she was telling me about like some of her favorites and like what her and her family watched a lot, and she was like, yeah, this one and this one and this one. And I was like, wow, those are all on the list that I've never gotten around to. And so we sat down, we watched The Shining. We watched Carrie, the original Carrie, and The Exorcist. So it was fun to kind of see them all in like a 2022 lens. Spoiler, I find all of those movies fucking hilarious.
So, with The Exorcist, me specifically, I have a very nostalgic attachment to it because I watched it when I was young, and not only is it nostalgic, but if any of you frequent my channel, I've talked about how The Exorcist haunted the shit out of me when I was young.
Really?
When I was little, literally like my fucking main enemy, my arch nemesis, scared the fuck out of me. Was in my nightmares more than any other character on screen. Like, that was, even as a fucking grown man, it still fucked with me because it was there. It never left. I confronted it many times. Like, you can see easily on video many instances of me like looking at her and having a visceral reaction, and I'm not playing it up for the camera. Like, that was just so ingrained into my brain that I clearly have a very different viewpoint of this movie than Kennie.
Because like, it's not that I'm completely unfamiliar with it. Like, I just hadn't seen it. Like when I was a kid, my parents and my sister would kind of play it up like, yeah, it's one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. It was wild. It's crazy. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I kind of just, I guess as a child, avoided it because it's supposed to be so scary. But then as I got older, I was like, I want to see if it's like, is it going to react? Is it going to make me reaction this way that's just like all encompassing? And so having finally seen it, I get like why it was scary at the time, and there are parts of it that do actually like hit me where I'm like, oh, okay, that's wild. Like I saw the director's cut, so I got the one with her going down down the stairs, and that shocked me, but also made me laugh. And so it's interesting seeing it now and like thinking about movies that kind of give me this visceral feeling of horror films, and I ain't gonna lie, this movie made me laugh a lot, and I'm not trying to undermine your trauma. Like, but
Totally understand.
This movie is fucking hilarious. Still good though. It wasn't like a bad movie, but it was just funny as fuck, and that's what I got from it.
Yeah, it's a thing where like I know I would have a very different reaction to this movie if I watched it today with like very little context as to what it was or what it meant at the time. But watching it again, and I think because I covered the movie, I don't remember, like 2-3 years ago or some shit like that. And I watched it fresh right there, and after watching also a bunch of like other contextual shit behind it and documentaries, I've learned to appreciate the film a lot. Like, my main criticism has always been like, it's just kind of fucking slow sometimes and boring, and that kind of kills me. But after flooding my brain with all this extra shit, now I really like it. I don't really go back to watch it, but I appreciate it, right? But that's also kind of unfair, because I feel like I always think, like, if I go learn some extra shit and like, oh, they did this behind the scenes, that's kind of crazy.
That's kind of cool.
Then I like the movie more. But that's a shit ton of bias coming in, I feel like.
I think, like, I mean, I think also because I'm viewing it from, like, the 2022 perspective, so I'm not understanding fully, I think, all the things that were really new and revolutionary about the film at the time, because so many people have ripped off aspects of certain horror movies, The Exorcist, Rosemary's Baby. Oh, well, before we started filming, I was talking about how I, like, maybe an hour ago, finished Mother for the first time. The 2017, very polarizing film, apparently. And that movie takes a lot from, like, Rosemary's Babies and in this late 60s, early 70s, everybody's afraid of Satan type movies that were coming out at the time. So, like, I'm seeing it from, like, we've done this a lot, but I got to remember, this is a very, like, this movie is a pioneer in a lot of ways. And I can definitely see aspects of that. Her head turning around like an owl, both funny, but also fucked me up. I was like, oh, okay. She flexible. I was like, all right. But then when she started, like, yelling, like, you and your cunt, like, that shit fucked me up. That shit was funny. I'm trying. It's hard to, like, and also I also understand that to some degree, just, like, depravity and, like, swear words were, like, more of a, especially coming from a child, were very, like,
literal child. Yeah.
From a literal child, she's like 12, was disturbing in its own right. But the movie itself is very good. Again, maybe a bit slow. I agree with you on that. But once it gets revved up, it's certainly a time, if anything else.
So what do you think the worst aspect of the movie was for you, for your viewing experience?
The worst?
Yeah.
I don't think anything was particularly bad. I guess pacing, yeah, a little slow. Other than that, but I wouldn't consider myself a film person, but I do a lot of film video, and therefore I watch a lot of film at this point. I think I'm starting to build up a tolerance to a certain amount of slow build up, if it feels like it's worth it in the end. But some movies are just slow, just to just, like, wade through. But I felt like this movie, you know, once we get to the end, I'm sure we're probably going to spoil it, right? So once we get to, like, stuff happening, like people die, fall down.
Should be fine. Yeah.
People fall down out of windows or jump out of windows, to be more specific, and all that stuff. It's like, okay, yeah, we built up to something, so it wasn't just slow for no reason. At least it didn't feel like it to me. Again, I think because I have, like, this expectation for it to be scarier. I maybe I was a bit disappointed by that, but also I'm trying to be fair to it. Like, it's from the 70s. There's something very campy inherently about that time period to some degree. That's what I found. It's very campy for a movie that I wasn't expecting.
So it sounds like, I mean, it sounds like obviously you weren't like scared at all during the movie, but it was more so like nods, like, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
I'm personally not like shaking in my boots right now, but yeah, I get it.
Like, I wasn't like frightened by anything in it, but I think I could see, especially if I were to see this as a child, it would have really fucked me up. Like, even when I was, in reference to like the other films we ended up watching The Shining, and I did remember distinctly the axe, Jack Nicholson, here's Johnny. Like, I ended up seeing that scene for some reason by itself at one point as a child. Fucked me up. I don't know what it was about that scene. Fucked me up. So like, seeing it again, I was like, I'm still getting a little bit of this response that I had as a kid. So I was like, okay, all right, interesting. But because I don't have necessarily this like childhood base for it or this nostalgic base for it, my body isn't like viscerally responding. I'm just like, that's a wild ass thought to do that. That's funny. Why would you do that? So I saw, well, also because I saw the director's cut, I saw maybe more things that dragged out the story. I guess I should watch the original like theater cut to compare, because maybe some of my complaints are just like scenes that were added because it's the director's cut for pacing and whatnot.
In the director's cut, I think it says that all it changed was, well, from what I remember, it says here that it changed the ending slightly. And also, I think I remember that there was also more instances of pazuzu throughout the movie. I think that's what I remember seeing the difference in. But then again, don't take my word for that though.
I mean, either way, I feel like I could see like certain aspects of the movie that were very innovative in like the bed lifting up and the again the hit thing, the vomit, the pea soup, like all of it.
Yeah.
All of it felt like, because I guess maybe I need to look more into like horror of that particular time period between like the mid 60s to the early 80s or whatnot. Because I do find like kind of, this is one of the first like paranormal horrors that I've seen in this particular genre. I mean, in this particular time period. And I wonder if that was like, is it like the beginning of this particular type of genre in like American movies? I don't know. I need to look in on that. But I can imagine it being like a very watershed moment for a lot of people.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to speak on necessarily if that was like the pioneer of that, but I can imagine at that time, at least from like the footage I see, because I never realized how old the movie really was until I started to learn more about it. And I was like, oh yeah, what the fuck were you guys watching at the time? Like, obviously fucking, I wouldn't know, but seeing something like demonic possession, the head turn, the crucifix in the bottom half being stabbed,
right?
It's just like some of that shit's off the wall today.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine around that time,
like, well, especially with all of the like, I think this was like probably early satanic panic, so a lot of people were like, the devil. Now you're gonna make a movie about it? It's like, this is satanic, And the reason I bring up Rosemary's Baby, which came out maybe like 5 years before this, is that it's like, I noticed like this is when we're kind of like making more film specifically around like demonic possession and Satan, in the midst of everyone being afraid of like the devil. Like, it seems to be like a big fear fundamentally by a lot of people in real life, and now it's coming to film. So that's what I mean. Like, I could imagine like there's war. Vietnam is happening or whatever nearby. Shit is going crazy. And the devil is afoot. Now we have the Exorcist. It's all going to hell in a handbasket. And I'm curious, though, when I think about the people that I like passed out during the film and stuff, I'm curious, like, what part of it made people that really shook people, like, to their core? Oh, I guess I'll ask you, like, is there any particular scene in general that was like, I can't do this anymore?
Well, listening to William Friedkin, the director, talk about it, I think, obviously, like, some of the scenes that come to mind, like we just mentioned, right? But he also said a lot of people clocked out at the hospital scene where Reagan's in the hospital and she's having her cerebral procedure, and I think because it was so real, it wasn't dressed up, it was performed by an actual doctor, an actual radiologist, like everybody who knew what the fuck they were doing, and they didn't, like, in that scene they don't skimp out on anything. They show you everything that would be done in that procedure, and it's accurate to a T. And I guess, like, blood spurting and seeing all the needles, like, some people just fucking died out at that. They didn't even make it to the fucking head turn and the crazy shit. Like, they were donezo at that.
You know, I've been in a few medical situations where I can say that is probably the most effectively horrifying part of that movie. I can see that. Like, hospitals suck. Like,
hospitals suck.
No one likes to go to a hospital, especially if you're like watching someone do this procedure. She was still like awake during it. It's off-putting. This is very off topic, but somewhat related. Like, I ended up on TikTok and I ended up finding like one of those plastic surgeon people, and they were doing like a plastic surgery of like person's like full on open. They're putting new titties in them or whatever, and they're still awake. And that shit fucked with me for days. I was like, what? Why are they still awake? And then everybody was like, it's fine. He knows what he's doing. I was like, does he? Should you be able to talk during your breast augmentation? So, like, I find the medical field terrifying in general. So I can get it. Especially if that's not, like, all over TV and stuff in the 70s, I assume it wasn't. So it's just, like, all this realism about medical shit. So, but
yeah, especially with that specific procedure, it's just fucking
off-putting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even like that scene, and I'm not even someone like it's just this. I'm kind of okay with hospital stuff, but like not at the same time. I remember one time I went. They needed to fucking jab a needle in my arm. Don't remember why, but I was totally cool. And then all of a sudden I saw the needle, and I'm cool with needles, but she pulled it out, and I was like, that's kind of a big motherfucker right there. Hold on, wait, we need to relax. All of a sudden, I got shot with anxiety out of nowhere. And I was like, wait, I don't want to do this anymore. I started to internally panic, but I couldn't do it on the outside. So I was like, he's going to think I'm fucking crazy. And I was like, and I just let her jab me, obviously. But that scene's uncomfortable to watch. So I do understand that. And I think those are also the first flashes of Pazuzu on screen. What are your thoughts on Pazuzu, by the way? I'm curious.
Pazuzu?
That's the white face demon.
White face in the darkness, just flashing. Yeah. Pazuzu. Love the makeup job.
That sounded like you were calling for a dog just now. Pazuzu.
I love the makeup job.
Yeah.
That would be a cute name for like a little Yorkie. Hello, Pazuzu.
Without the context, kinda, yeah.
Without the context, he's my little demon. Nobody. But like, I love the makeup job. Pazuzu was just. I didn't really put much thought into like even the flashing of the moon face, devil moon face in the darkness. I think they were very effective in using like this idea of them just kind of like floating in the background and manipulating things to some degree. But as far as like any frightening factor, I didn't really feel anything in regards to that. Again, love the makeup job. I'm trying to think. Like,
did you like question it at all when you first saw it? You were like, "What the fuck just popped on screen?" Or did you immediately get it? Like, "Oh, that's the demon."
Well, I assume that was like who's. Well, in fairness, like I know that the movie's about possession, so I assume this is who's possessing our Reagan here, but Reagan, the child.
Yeah,
so
Reagan, yeah.
So, but yeah, I maybe it's because I wasn't. Maybe I should have watched. Well, I should have watched it a second time. But the beginning of the movie is like this dig, and they show like the statue Pazuzu. I never. I don't know what it is, but I never like correlated what that particular scene and Reagan have to do with each other. Maybe you can help me on that one, or maybe not. It's fine. Or just like, here's the demon Pazuzu. He exists out in the world.
Yeah, I'll be honest. When I like my first rounds with the movie, I had no idea either. I was like, "What is this stupid ass dig scene in the beginning?" It's like, this is so slow, and like I would think to forward it past that, be like, "Let's get started with Reagan." But I think it's literally just an introduction to Pazuzu, where Father Marin, where he first, I guess, becomes familiar with him in a way, and that's why they call on him to come help with this, because I don't really know. I feel like we could have cut it.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, after the end of the movie, I was like, wait a second, what do we have that there for? We could have cut that. That could have been in the director's cut, and then that's why I actually figured that it was in the director's cut and that it wasn't actually in the original movie, but apparently it is.
No, yeah, well, because what the fuck happens? He just finds the little rock of Pazuzu's face, right?
Yeah.
And then he just sees the big Pazuzu statue, and he was like, "Yeah, that's it."
I was like, did he bring
something?
Pazuzu to the States? Is that what happened? Was
like they awoke him when they retrieved the fossil or some
like
shit?
They brought Pazuzu to the States because I guess the devil didn't exist in America prior to that. So like they brought the stone.
The devil's foreign, clearly.
Apparently, just so that we're clear, to justify our xenophobia through this movie, I guess, is that the devil is inherently foreign. But
they were going for the twofer then.
They were going for the
people's
twofer.
Insecurities with everything.
Let's scare everybody. All these.
Okay, you guys are afraid of demons, right?
Well,
yeah,
guess
how about
what?
Those other country people?
The other country people dig the devil, literally, and bring him to the States, even though it was like a priest that brought him. Like,
yeah, I feel like it was just a weird intro so we know who Pazuzu is, even though it doesn't really do that.
Yeah, that's another thing. It doesn't explain who Pazuzu is. I just, I maybe, is this a bad thing? I kind of just like saying Pazuzu.
After you made the dog reference, I kind of enjoy it too.
But I feel like that's that's like, I'm not particularly religious, but
because that's like a real ass
bad
demon,
vibes.
Right?
I just like trying to be careful.
I don't think that's a made up demon for the movie, right?
No, it's not. It's like someone's whole
like,
ass devil. Oh, I don't know if that does anything. But
I guess I'll throw one in too, just to make sure.
Do you like salt or something? Do I have to explain why I have Laurie's seasoning salt in this room?
Now that you brought it in the frame, you do, yeah.
It's just like I made a salad and it was kind of bland and I just never put it back. So now.
That's okay. Convenient.
Right? Isn't that a superstitious thing where you throw salt over your shoulder? Then I have to clean it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fine. I still have salad left. Anyway, so going back to
now that we're protected.
Mista GG is what's bringing the havoc, and we have this seemingly normal family whose daughter gets possessed, and they are doing everything to make sure that it's not something just psychological. But eventually they acquiesce to the realization that they're going to have to bring in a priest. A family that is generally not religious have brought in a priest to exorcise their daughter. And
correct.
And again, I'm like, so much of the movie is like the build up, getting to know the priest and like what his triggers are to some degree. Like he loses his mom partially due to his own kind of, not due to his negligence, but he's not able to like spend much time with her because he put her in a home essentially. And so Mr. Zuzu, I feel like if I say the whole thing, it feels like we have to do the whole Laurie seasoning salt over again. Mr. Zuzu is like, that'll trigger you. So he makes the demonic child say things that would trigger him in relation to his mom and stuff. I thought that was terrifying. Like even that, like the psychological thriller type aspects were interesting. The pea soup made me laugh though.
Yeah, the pea soup's a funny scene. What scares me about the pea soup scene is there's a split second. Well, the Exorcist, I've already told you, the Exorcist face and makeup terrifies me, right? But the double, Reagan's double, Eileen Dietz, she's in a few frames of the movie. Her frame, she's in one of the pea soup frames where she like turns over to the side and it's just like kind of oozing out of her mouth. She looks fucking terrifying there. It's goofy because there's like Nickelodeon slime like oozing out of her mouth, but she looks fucky in the makeup too.
Yeah.
So that frame is uncomfortable to look at for me.
No, absolutely.
But
I was like, man, they just straight up Nickelodeoned him in the face. I thought it would be vanilla though. Side note, I found out that Nickelodeon slime is actually just vanilla pudding.
It's just dyed?
Yeah, I think so.
Why is it so fucking watery?
Really cheap vanilla
or is it
pudding.
not? Oh,
or maybe like room
actually,
temp.
It's not that watery. I was thinking of like it dripping down people's faces, and it is kind of thick as fuck. Never mind.
So there was a lot of vanilla pudding used in vats on Nickelodeon, and that is your childhood, so that everyone remembers that.
I feel like that was the worst thing to clean up, and they threw it on everybody.
I kind of miss the 90s though.
Had.
I'd always wanted to get slimed because as a fat child, I wondered what it tastes like.
But
I
was gonna ask. I was like, isn't that weird that you say that though? Like, I wanted to get slimed when I was little.
I was like, man, because like some people, they would get like at the Kids' Choice Awards, they would just get like decked. Like some people would look like they didn't like them as people. Like there was a video of Katy Perry getting slimed, and I was like, they tried to take her out. Editor, put a clip. Poor girl, but she's fine. She's doing a residency now. I didn't go see her in Vegas, but yeah, The Exorcist.
Yeah. Where do we go with that?
Accolades.
Katy Perry now.
I was looking at the accolades that the movie got. It was nominated for 10 Academy Awards. I didn't know that. Which is interesting because like when I think of the Academy Awards, I don't think of them really giving much credit to horror film. It won 2 of them. I wonder.
I feel like that just further solidifies that at the time that was just a groundbreaking film.
Yeah.
And that was the only way that horror would get recognized in that regard.
Maybe that's something I need to look into. Like, what is it that makes you guys not respect horror as a genre? I really gotta know. Like because I feel like of all the movies that I've ever watched, you know, they'll like nominate a thriller, but if it's anything that's too like horror specific, they're just like, no, this is below the Academy Awards. It's below the Oscars. We want things that are jarring and visceral. And I was like, that's what horror movies are. So I don't know what you mean.
I don't know, honestly. That's a good question.
Oh, apparently it was the first horror film to be nominated for Best Picture.
There you go.
There you go.
Let's fucking go Exorcist.
Nominated for 7 Golden Globes, won 4. There was a sequel that I have no interest in watching.
There was a sequel.
Have you seen
it? It's funny. I've forgotten it almost completely, and I did a whole ass review on it.
Oh.
But I think part 2 is the buns, so you can skip that one because I think they all pass through different directors, if I'm not mistaken. But people tell me, and I haven't watched it, people tell me that part 3 is actually not shit.
Okay.
But part 2 is the buns.
That's rare because usually when things go bad, it's the third one, if it's ever going to be. Because usually the third one is when they just run out of ideas and just say fuck it. So if they actually put any effort forth on the third one and said fuck it for the second one, that's kind of funny.
Oh yeah, this shit was butt. No, I'm looking at images of it now. Now I remember the movie. Okay, yeah, this was butt. Part 2 was butt, but they had Linda Blair. They had Linda Blair come back. They had Max von Sydow come back.
Do you know around how much after the first one?
I think it was pretty fucking soon after. 1977.
Oh, that's only 4 years. So Linda Blair wouldn't have been that much older then. She was just...
No, she was still underage in this film, and they still made it weird because she has a scene where she's trying to seduce one of the older gentlemen in the movie. So that was another area of like, this is kind of fucking weird, guys. Even Linda has talked about it, been like, yeah, I was a kid, and like,
would she have been like 16, something like that?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, not surprising, still disgusting though. I never get surprised by Hollywood being fucking weird and gross about underage.
Yeah, she talks about specifically a day where she came in and like other people on set were telling her like, yo, did you see what like they added to the script, or did you see what they're gonna have you do today? And she started like freaking the fuck out because she had been talking with them to like, I don't want to do this shit, right? And apparently at the last second they cut out whatever idea they had, and they never brought it up to her. And no one ever told her what the fuck it was. But people on set were like, yo, they're kind of fucked. They're gonna test you today. But they bailed last second, and she never knew what the fuck they were gonna ask her to do.
Imagine being an actress in the 70s. Absolutely not. Imagine being an actress now, but being an actress in the 70s?
Yeah, it was there's in addition to that, there's just a shit ton of behind the scenes lore with The Exorcist in general. So there's like,
wasn't Friedkin like a maniac?
Friedkin was an absolute maniac, and he still he stands by it proudly. He doesn't give a fuck. In the Leap of Faith documentary, he talks about it, and he's just like, this is what I did.
That's what I had to do.
And he was like, and he just describes it as like, these were just old school tactics. But he had guns on set, and he would shoot guns on set to get genuine reactions out of people, to get like them turning around, and you're like, yeah, that's a fucking money shot right there, baby. But he's literally he had guns all around the set.
I mean, honestly, I feel like a lot of directors from this time period, or just like in and around this time period, were wild. Who was the one that directed The Birds? The Birds. That's.
I'll be honest. I don't even know what movie you're talking about.
Oh, it's this like old. It's a 60s.
Stanley Kubrick.
No,
that was
Alfred Hitchcock.
Alfred Hitchcock.
Hitchcock was also crazy because The Birds is like a horror movie about birds, basically. And basically, I was listening to a podcast, and apparently, like, this would have been like early 60s, and he was just throwing birds at people. He was just launching birds at the actress.
Literal birds?
Yes, like live birds. And apparently he was trying to have like a relationship with her, and he was like sexually harassing her. And when she was like, no, he just started like launching birds at her. And he was like, yeah, this is going to take like 3 or 4 days of filming. We're going to just keep throwing birds at you for days. highly recommend reading up on it. It's a thing. Like, apparently directors, I'd say probably until very, very recently, they were getting away with doing some wild shit to quote unquote get the shot. But I can imagine
once they actually had like rules and regulations.
Once they told you like you can't go hawking hawks at people, you probably have to chill the fuck out. This would have been around and what this this is 63. So
63.
Yeah. As a bit of a side note, because I've been watching a bit more like older horror films recently, I've been thinking about how like I should like do a themed night, because fucking what is his name? Stephen, not Spielberg. Stephen
Hawking.
No, Stephen.
Stephen.
He also did the movie I was just talking about, The Shining. Probably did Carrie too.
Steven Seagal. Boom.
No, that's Stanley. Stephen, dude that wrote the book. Who?
Keen? Did you say that? Stephen King? Or am I thinking
King, yes, Stephen King. Like, I'm over here like losing my mind. Because I was going through, I didn't realize so many movies were written by, books that turned into movies were written by Stephen King that I actually knew already. Like, I didn't know he did Shawshank. I need to watch it because everybody says
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, he did Shawshank. He did the Greek.
I just knew It, right?
He did It, The Shining, Carrie, Shawshank. He did a newer one that I want to watch, Gerald's Game.
Yeah, I watched Gerald's Game. I like Gerald's Game.
Did you? Okay, I wanted to watch that too. He did It. He did oh gosh, he did that one. Stephen King. Misery. I wanted to see that one. The one where the crazed fan locks up an author in his house because she didn't like the ending of his book. And so she terrorizes him for that. It's probably not funny, but when I heard the premise of it, I was like, that sounds fucking hilarious. I need to watch it.
It does sound funny.
This is 1990.
It's really high.
Yeah. With Kathy Bates, who I think of as the lady who is yelling about people that ate her cake in Matilda. Anyway, I'm off topic. So.
Speaking about Bates.
Yeah.
This reminds me. There was comments on my video when I reviewed The Exorcist. They were like, hey, by the way, fun fact. One of the extras in the movie was a serial killer who was in The Exorcist.
Like a real one?
Apparently he was one of the technicians or something like that. He's on camera. You see him.
Wait, I just caught that you said speaking of Bates.
Well, no, the reason why
I was like, wait, what? I was like, Kathy Bates didn't kill anybody. Wait,
no, not her. But the reason why that brought it up is because I had read about it afterwards, because I was like, wait, really? That's a thing? His name is Paul Bateson. That's why it reminded me of it.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like Bates Hotel. I was this has layers to it. Is this gonna go?
No. His name is Paul Bateson. So I went to go look up like if this was true, and apparently he was a killer. I don't know if he was a serial killer. That's not proven, but he did murder one person.
Okay.
So I think he brought someone back from like a gay bar one night, and he was an alcoholic and like seriously bad, like down in the dumps type shit. So after they had a night of drinking and coke and sex, I think he wanted money from him, and like the other guy was just like, nah, like we're kind of done. It was just like, this is all it was, my guy. So like, go home. So then he hit him with a frying pan over the head and then murdered him and stabbed him. And then, so he was a killer. And once he was in prison, or I guess he had called one of his friends saying that he killed multiple other men as well. Oh. Because there was a bunch of men who were disappearing in that scene.
That doesn't sound like a first-time murderer type situation. He's like...
Right? Yeah. That's not like an oopsie.
That's not an oopsie. He's like, okay, this is what we do now.
Yeah. So apparently he had confessed that, but they weren't able to actually stick those charges because there was no other direct proof. But they were like, the killing's kind of similar. but all they really hit him with was that one murder.
And then he
But
became
he's
an
in there.
extra.
You can see him in the movie.
Was that before or
Yeah,
after he
he's-
became an extra?
Well, that particular death they got him on was afterwards. However, if what he says
Is true.
that he confessed the other ones, he would have killed somebody already when he.
Oh, I thought
was in
Friedkin
there.
was like, "Did you hear about this guy? He's a murderer. You know he'd be perfect for."
He went to go talk to him in jail. You fucking psycho.
He's like, "Just so you know, your entire aura, love it. It's bringing something crazy to the film, and you really, you've turned it into a masterpiece, and I really appreciate that." Oh.
Yeah, he went to go talk to him for other films that he was working on or something, like to take inspiration from him. I don't know.
What's it like to be a killer? So I can write a killer. It's
That
terrible.
guy's not. He's like, hey, we've already met, so what's going on? I don't know. The guy's off his rocker a little bit, but
I
yeah,
mean,
fun fact.
Also off topic, but still somewhat related to killers. There's like, when you said that, it reminded me of this like like murder case that I heard about. That was like a guy who fucked up. Don't look into it. But basically, he became a killer after making a comic, like a graphic novel about serial killers. And so they think that he used his book as inspiration to kill somebody. And so I was like, is this it? Is this the Friedkin? He's just taken it to like a new level. He's like, I am not simply doing research. I am the research. And so he's like, just to stop myself, Friedkin is like, just to stop myself from having to actually murder to know what it feels like. I got this dude in my mental Rolodex to visit so that if I ever need to know how a killer thinks, he's there. Seems ballsy, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, he definitely went to other levels, and aside from even just like getting like real lost in the sauce like that, I mean, he's also just kind of sounds like a douchebag too. He was hurting Ellen Burstyn on set. He was like letting the props guy, the scene where she falls back and screams. That wasn't supposed to happen. They did a couple takes of it, and she was like, "Hey, this hurts," and he was like, "Oh, word, okay, all right, no, I got you." And he looked and winked. He like winked at the props guy, and he was like, "Give her hell." So they yanked the shit out of her on that scene, and that's why it's such a genuine scream.
I was gonna
in that
say
scene where she holds her back. She's like, "Ah!" It's a real ass scream. They hurt her, and they're like, "Yeah, cut, nice, good shit." Like
You can almost tell
a
that
bad
you're in
person.
pain. We love that. That was incredible.
Yeah.
He wasn't acting.
Great acting.
This
Yeah,
is Oscar winning. We really appreciate that. Oh.
Yeah, it's so funny that information directly just came out from his own mouth. Like, he's just
Well, because there's
he
nothing
tells
to
it
be
all. He
afraid
doesn't
about. He
care.
was like, you know what? What are they going to do? I'm a fucking Oscar winner and I made the scariest movie ever made. What are they going to say? And unfortunately, he's
true.
kind of correct in a way. Oh, yeah. I did hear about how some people thought that the movie itself was cursed. Like the set was cursed.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff about that too.
I wonder. Like it just like bad circumstantial stuff that was happening. The murderer vibe on set. I can imagine it kind of shaking things up a little bit.
Yeah, random people were dying who were associated with the film.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like there's just I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's common at all that like people are just dying who were associated with the movie in one sort of way, but like people were just dying who were associated with the set. There was a fire that burned down one of the sets, and they like apparently couldn't find an explanation for it. So it was just like weird shit like that. And when you're dealing with that type of movie, especially at that time where you're like, oh shit, are we actually inviting demons in here? Is this actually what we're doing? It's just, yeah,
Be
it's
chill.
a hell of a story behind The Exorcist.
Be chill, Mr. Zuzu. We going.
Sorry, my bad.
My bad. It was only
no disrespect, Z.
PZZ.
It's easy.
Pazuzu.
Oh man, we're gonna be fucking cursed.
The initial release hit only 30 screens in 24 theaters, mostly in large cities, and it grossed about $1.9 million in its first week, setting house records in each theater. And it forced it to expand the movie very widely pretty quickly after that, which I find funny considering that everyone's like afraid of the devil, but everybody went to go see the devil movie. It earned $66.3 million in distributor rentals during its theatrical release in 1974 in the United States and Canada, becoming the second most popular film of that year, trailing The Sting. If we adjust it to 2014 prices, The Exorcist has grossed $1.8 billion.
That's fire.
That's pretty fucking impressive.
That's what's up. Yeah, I don't. Just in general with The Exorcist, at this point I'm more fascinated talking about everything surrounding The Exorcist as opposed to the actual film itself, because you notice even when we talked about it, the film talk was very short.
Oh yeah,
cut.
A girl gets possessed, whatever,
and then she's not
floating.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know why they. Oh well. I wonder what the reason why they took out the like back bend down the stairs one. Of all the things that they could have kept, I would have hoped they would have kept that one. But
the reason for that, yeah, sorry, big Exorcist lore guy over here.
He has all the answers. What can I say?
No, the reason why that was not in the 70s version is because they didn't have the technology to hide the strings during that.
Okay.
So it was too obvious on screen, but then once they got the technology in the new version, they were like, "Oh, fucking, this is easy to get. Just key this shit out." And then that's why that was included in there.
That's the best scene as far as like effectively scary, because that one scared me enough that I started laughing. It was a panic laugh. I was like, "Oh fuck, okay, all right."
It's so abnormal.
It's oh my god, it is one of the. How did y'all get her back into bed, though? I thought about afterwards. So it's like, fine, we just take this out. We can't get rid of the strings. We can't figure out how to get her ass back into bed. But it seems to be universally loved by critics and audiences alike. Except for one guy here. Hold on. Richard Combs, who said the film continually struggles to suggest through atmosphere what it promises and fails to provide in substance. Boo.
What?
I actually don't know what you're saying. The film continually struggles to suggest throughout. Am I blind?
To suggest hold on, because I'm trying to read it.
Like, can I just not read?
The film continually. That's that. First of all, fuck that word. The film continually struggles to suggest through atmosphere what it promises, but fails to provide in substance.
There we
go. That still did not click with me. It clicked with you?
I finally know what he said because, like, I'm sitting here like there must be commas missing. Like there's something throwing off the pacing here. Suggest through. Oh, well, no, I just can't read. Anyway, everybody else liked it.
So basically the film didn't deliver, it didn't live up to its potential. Is that what the fuck?
But you're also watching it in 2020, Richard Combs.
Richard Combs?
Like,
what a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I like the movie. I think it's good. I like the makeup. I like all the practical effects. One of the disturbing factors for me, honestly, is a lot of it is the sound. Like a lot of the sound that Mercedes McCambridge did, which she's that fucking thick, raspy voice you hear a lot. Like the groans. Like it can be comical at one angle, but also they're just uncomfortable too to hear. Because also it just seems like it almost like doesn't belong in the film. And I think that's kind of what works for me. So I appreciate The Exorcist. I think it's always going to bother me slightly in my life, even though I've come to have like this love-hate relationship with it. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, yeah, go crazy.
How about classic
it's
movie
one of those movies,
night?
I guess.
There's a whole list of I have plenty on my. Oh wait, there is The Exorcist VR. Wait, I was typing in The Exorcist video game for a second there, and I didn't realize that. Also, check out the video game. I'm curious. I don't have VR, so if someone ever plays it, I would love to know what your opinions are.
I avoided that shit as soon as I saw it.
I don't like VR in general because it makes me feel claustrophobic, like all right here for some reason. But if you're into it and you play The Exorcist, I'd love to hear your opinion on that. But no, I really liked it. I'm liking it because I'm like, ooh, campy. But the experience itself is still good regardless. So that's all that matters. Whether you watch it because it viscerally terrifies you or you just like the campy foolishness, the experience is still great.
Oh, we should rate it.
Oh, we should.
Yeah, fucking beat up shitty tent or super delicious s'more. I forgot the rating is.
Delicious. No, tent on fire to a delicious s'more. There you go.
There you go. I was kind of close. What do I give this rating? Fuck. The Exorcist.
The movie itself, I'd give it like a 8. 7.5, 8.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm in the same zone because my first thought was 8, and then I was like, is it 7.5 though? Because I immediately thought of the dig scene. Now I was like, nah, it's an 8. Yeah, 8.
And I'm trying to say that without like adding more value to it through like everything that happened around it. I'm just trying to like the movie itself. It's good. It's fine. A little slow at parts. 8.
8. 8's across the board. Hey, hope you guys had fun watching this episode. As always, let us know in the comments below what you want us to go see next. We love your ideas. We might pick one for a future episode. Maybe Amanda will be here too. Who knows? We're full of surprises over here at the More Butter channel. So subscribe. Leave a like on this video, please. We'd really appreciate that. And do you want to do it?
Oh.
The thing?
Wait, okay. and always remember to butter your popcorn. Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.